Did that even work? I don't even know anymore. Let's see. We're going live. Are we live? Can you hear me? Do we have audio? We need to talk about the latest post. Brian Jackson, breaking news from Brian. We're not even 5 minutes in, not even 30 seconds in. Um, okay. Let me know, guys, in the chat if you are getting clean audio because I had to take my whole office apart and put it back together again. Okay. Sounds good. Cheers, everybody. Happy New Year's Eve. I've got my night shift beer glass. I don't usually do this, but it's been a hell of a year. And it's good to be back. I feel like I haven't been I haven't. I haven't been back here for like a month. That's why it feels so long. Like it's been forever. But okay. Yeah, sounds good to me. Clean up. So I had everything packed up for the trip and then went and was gone for a couple of weeks and came back. And what happened was I like you happens when you go on a trip, you come back with fresh eyes and you look at your space. And I was looking at my office and I realized it's a disaster and it needs some TLC. So I decided to take everything out, more or less, like take everything apart and kind of rethink the room and rebalance the whole space, which I did. And as I was doing that process, I have assorted electronics that kind of all make the whole thing work. And my kid is running around behind me, like flipping switches and turning dials and picking things up and leaving the room and coming back, and everything's changed. And so when I put it all back together, I was like, oh God, I hope it all works. And I just did that earlier today. So this is a live test, and we're also live streaming through Riverside, which is the streaming platform I use for my pre-recorded interviews. Excuse me, and I'm testing it out. They've added a bunch of new features, and one of them is live call-ins, and that's something that we've been trying to do on the Friday show forever. And if it works, if I can figure out how to make it work, then that would be a lot of fun. But I can never, I have to run a test. So this is the test. Congratulations, guys. You're all part of the beta test for whatever the latest update is. I'll say, what's up, Cole? I see Cole's in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Colio is there. Let's see, who else? Paris, I saw you're in the chat. What's up? Great to see everybody. Oh, that's weird. So on my screen, a lot of the screen names that I'm seeing are not the same as the ones that show up on the YouTube feed, which is interesting. What's up, Rain? Rain's here. Mr. Justin's here. Guys, it's so good to be back with you. So let me tell you what happened. Went to Peru for a couple of weeks, and part of it was just family stuff for the holidays, and part of it was research for the channel. And so we flew into Lima, and the flight getting there sucked. But that's just the way it goes with some of these flights, right? So anyway, it's my wife, my son, and I. We get there, and Lima. I hadn't been to Lima in a while, a couple of years, and man, the Chinese have invested billions of dollars into Peru, and it shows. We got there, and it's like skyscrapers going up everywhere. I mean, just tons of new development happening everywhere. I mean, they're spending serious money, and the Chinese cars, holy moly, they're awesome. I would buy a Chinese car. I mean, I rode in a bunch of them. I hadn't seen them. I haven't been anywhere that had them. So this was my first exposure to a lot of their stuff, but their SUVs are amazing. Um, so that was kind of cool. And so we're staying in a neighborhood called Miraflores, which is a neighborhood of Lima, and my wife's family lives there. And that particular area has a mansion in it, and this mansion is the headquarters of the Peruvian Air Force's OVNI office. OVNI stands for I have to look it up, but it's their acronym for UFOs and UAPs. Same thing, OVNI. Um, and this was an office that had existed for a long time and then got shut down, and they recently reactivated. I think it was in 20 recently. It was like 2013. They reactivated this office. And all they do is look into UFOs and UAPs. That's their whole function. And they're an office supported by and funded by the Peruvian Air Force. And it's dope as hell. It's awesome. Um, so I'll talk more about that later, but that's just one cool thing that happens to be in Lima. And so that was something that I was looking into. I didn't get a chance to get down and see the mummies. I was talking to Pavel about this before I left, and we kind of went back and forth on it. Um, so I had the opportunity, but I just, it was tough with a kid and just trying to get around. So that one didn't happen. I had to kind of cut that one loose. But there's plenty of time to go back. They're not going anywhere. Um, so we stayed in Lima for a couple of days and then flew out to Cusco. And immediately uh, got altitude sickness. I was okay for after about 2 days. The first 2 days were rough, but my wife had a really rough go of it for a while. And my kid was great. But it just took, if you've never had it, it's like you just feel like exhausted all the time and it's awful. It's not fun. So we had to kind of overcome that. So that just meant hanging out in Cusco and eating at a lot of cool restaurants, which is, it's packed with amazing restaurants. I mean, Peruvian food, if you're not familiar with it, the flavor profile of Peruvian food is astonishing. And it's so broad. And every time you think you've had like everything there is to have, there's something new. And some of these amazing restaurants in Cusco just blew my mind. Um, so we spent some time there, and then once everybody was kind of up and around, we got out to investigate some of the surrounding area. And there's the Sacred Valley. Um, there's some stuff in the mountains around Cusco that is really, really interesting. There's a new um, museum, outdoor museum slash research center called Area 21. And I think I can share this with you guys. Let me see if I can make this work. OVNI. Uh, how do I pronounce it? Voladores no identificados. That's my new vocal warm up. Um, my wife gives me so much shit for my Spanish. It's smooth when I'm there. As soon as I come back, it's gone. I think it's when I have no choice. I just have to start to speak Spanish. Um, it comes back. Check this out. So this is Area 21. I don't know if you guys can see this. Can I do? Here we go. Bonk. Area 21, and it's like this. It's this crazy art installation where this group of artists. So Peru has this enormous, like deep connection with UFOs and UAPs. Like if there's a center to the UFO universe, it's probably in Peru. Um, I mean, they are like, it's such a part of their world. Uh, they think it's weird that there are people who don't believe it. That's kind of like that's their sort of attitude. It's just been a part of their world for so long. And this is a group of Peruvian artists that they basically took over this piece of real estate and built like this outdoor museum um, celebrating aliens and contact and UFOs and just they have all of these like crazy sculptures and statues. There's a crashed UFO sort of flying saucer that's up on this like rock outcropping, and you can go up to it. It's really awesome. And they arrange these tours and they take groups of people out into the surrounding area, and you can do CE5 sky watching. It's awesome. And it's about 30 minutes from the center of town by car up into the mountains. So it's like another 2,000 feet up. So Cusco's at like 11,500. So this is like 12, like 12, 13,000 feet. It's up there. Um, but it's just awesome and a lot of fun. So we checked this place out. And then there's this other place that's not far from there called the Abode of the Gods. Let me show you this. You probably saw some of these pictures uh, on my Instagram if you've been following me there. But this is another art exhibition, sort of permanently hewn into the stone and rock of this area. And it's got tunnels carved into it. It's these massive faces and statues carved into the side of the mountain. Um, just amazing, beautifully done. And this whole complex is like tunnels that go through and other rooms inside. And there's this like amazing jaguar face, and it's just super, super cool. And the whole, I mean, anywhere you go in Peru, it's like this. There's just something amazing. And these are the touristy aspects of just outside of Cusco, but some of the sacred sites, like this one, let me show you. Sexa Huayman. I always say this, I butcher the name. Here we go. This is where you see the massive, massive stone structures and stone walls and fortifications that they build. And the stones are completely shaved down to fit the next stone exactly. I mean, as if they were just made that way all at once. It's unbelievable to see the level of engineering. And when you go into Cusco and you look at the way the Spanish constructed their buildings, you can see the Spanish buildings are very cool, and there's a lot of them, and they're still, in great shape, but they're nothing like this. And you could just see um, the difference in the amount of uh, skill that goes into some of these amazing sites. The last time before this trip that I was here, I brought a medium format Mamiya RZ67 camera, which if you've ever used those big film medium format cameras, I thought I would be super cool by bringing this out. And I hauled this heavy ass fucking camera all over this place, and I'll never do it again. But I did shoot some cool medium format film shots. So we checked out some of the sacred sites, and let me just end this. How do I stop sharing? Um, there we go. I'm just I'm catching up on your chat messages. I mean, I got a haircut. Okay, I got a haircut in Lima, and it was out of absolute necessity. I didn't really want to, but it was uh, Lima doesn't. It never rains, but it's always about to, and it's very humid, and so the humidity just sort of sits from the coast over the city in this sort of foggy haze, and then it never clears. Like, I mean, it does, but like very, it's unpredictable. You get like 3 days of just like cloudiness, and then like a half a day of really nice weather. And it was just to the point that like I needed a haircut. My hair was just, it had been long for so long. It had been long for years. And I just went in and I said to the lady, just like, do something cool, like what you have. She had this cool hair. Like, just give me that. And then she just did whatever. Did not give me a cool haircut. But I walked out with shorter hair. Here we are. Lima is a desert biome. Yeah, Lima is. Did you get there yet? Have you went, right? Or are you going, Sonic Man? I think you said, I don't remember when the window. We were supposed to be there roughly the same time. Um, Part of what I was doing while we were there was researching a idea that I've got. I've had this for a number of years. It's something that I've been wanting to do, which is a night shift excursion. Um, Not like a CE5 thing, like what some of like Stephen Greer does. Not like, with the expectation of absolutely seeing a UFO for sure, but more something along the lines of like a opportunity to unplug from your life and go do something that's really fucking awesome in a place that is so amazing that it is like being in a movie when you're there. And I think, I've been there enough times and spent enough time in these places that it's had a profound and deep impact on me. And I thought, well, this would be really interesting if other people wanted to come along. What a cool hang that might be. And so the idea was to go check it out with this sort of concept in mind and get a sense of what that might look like. What would it be? What would it entail? And what would be the, I don't know, because you can do everything. Like you can do ATV tours where you take four wheelers out into the desert and look at UFOs out there, or look for UFOs, Skywatch. They've got motorcycle tours where you go out into the mountains. You can do 3 day, 5 day hikes. You can do a 2 week hike up to the top of Machu Picchu. You can do some extreme shit. It's really cool. There's no end to the opportunities, and just depending on what region you're in, there are all kinds of different things you could do. You could go to the jungle, you can do the coast, you could do the desert, you could do the mountains. It's just a ton to see. The food is off the wall, and the culture is so deeply intertwined with UFOs and high strangeness that it just seems like an obvious fit. It just makes sense, right? So I thought for this audience, if if I'm going to be there, and I have other reasons that I was there that have to do with the channel. Obviously researching a few other projects that I'm working on. But if I'm going to be there anyway, once or twice a year, then it might be cool to offer people the opportunity to come along and do some of the cool stuff that there is to do. For example, like in Lima, there is this little neighborhood called Barranco, and it's down right by the coast. It is awesome. Um, and you can stay in an apartment there and like overlook the ocean, and you can look out, and it gets creepy. Like the water there is like spooky at night. And the people who live in that area reported back in like 2023, I think it was, there was a sustained period of strange lights sightings coming up out of the water. There was a craft that was the shape of an arrowhead that came up out of the water. I mean, remember the Peruvian Air Force has a full-time staffed office. That's all they do is look into this and investigate sightings all around the country. This is the same country where the mummies happened, the face peeler thing happened, orbs happen all the time, weird lights all the time. So wherever you go, I mean, there are legitimate, like for real, ancient megalithic stargates that are carved into rock that supposedly, according to legend, can be activated with the right combination of harmonics, and somehow these things can open and one can traverse the galaxy or even beyond. So, what would you like to do? Um, Cynic Man says, made Lima, Miraflores, 3 weeks, got as far as Pachacamac, earthly deity site, 16 pyramids out there next July 26th. Happy New Year's, Clint. Dude, that is awesome. Did you get, I hope you ate some chifa while you were there. They have this Peruvian Chinese fusion food called chifa that is like melting my brain every time I go. It's like it's just unbelievable. Barranco, yep. My so one of my biggest experiences in Peru was when a number of years ago I had a life changing ayahuasca experience there, and it completely like changed the direction of my life in a very measurable and lasting way. And that was something it actually was something that I didn't even realize until years later how much of an impact it had had. And then, um, even at that point, once I realized it, it became clear to me shortly after that that it was still having an ongoing effect. Um, as time goes on. Partly the reason this channel exists is because of that particular experience. So, I- you know, I think just as a place, as a country, as a people, as a culture, there is just a lot of openness to things that we would consider high strangeness as just part of the world, and they don't have to like create. They don't have to go through mental jujitsu to like create a framework for it all to make sense. It's kind of incorporated into the landscape, into the history of the place, and I find that fascinating. So, like when you talk to people about UFOs, they're like everybody will talk to you about it, and everybody will have a serious conversation. Like you can go down the street, pick any person at random, and they will have a serious, earnest conversation with you about any UFO thing you can think of, and they'll be really into it. Um, I don't say everybody, but like 9 out of 10 people, any cab driver, you know, it's just in Barranco, there's an ice cream shop that my wife and my son were walking along right by the water, and we went to this little ice cream shop totally at random. And the girl in the ice cream shop had a UFO tattooed on her forearm, which was just awesome. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm super into UFOs." It's just part of their world. Um, I'm scanning the chat. Bear with me. Um, so what else is going on? A couple other channel updates. We put out the Doomer Friday T-shirt that everybody was asking about. I think I've got that here. I can show you. Check this out. Here you go. The Doomer Friday T-shirt has been highly requested, so we went ahead and put that out. This is Doomer Friday vibes right here. So when you're feeling a little doomy, that's happening. Um, I'm working on a top secret project that I will hopefully reveal next month. Um, Let me close this. I had an opportunity to talk to James Fox for about 40 minutes from my hotel in Lima about his new release of Moment of Contact, which is the updated version. And he's added some new material to this that expands on the original film, the original documentary. And I had gotten a email from his agency, and they had reached out and said, if you're interested in a screener, let us know, and we'll send it out a screener. So I said, yeah, and if there's an opportunity to talk to James, I'd love to talk to him. And they wrote me back and said, yeah, we might be able to set that up. What's your availability? And so we picked a time, and I had about 30-40 minutes with him, and we had a great chat. He was actually in Virginia during the call. He's still working on this same project. And he gave me some cool insights into the film and some things that he picked up when he had an opportunity to sit down with Eric Davis during the September 9th hearings. He was in DC and he interviewed Eric Davis there. And so that whole interview is woven into this re-release of the film, which is super cool. And uh, he just what he has to say is phenomenal. So if you haven't already seen that, that's something worth checking out. I'm going to be posting that interview hopefully tomorrow. My goal is to get that up by tomorrow. Um, but I wanted to just touch base with all you guys and just you know let you know that the channel is still alive. We're still here. It's just been a couple of weeks, and I've been on the road, and there's a lot going on. And as soon as I got back, I decided that was a great opportunity to completely reset my office and update some stuff. So that's what's going on. Pardon our dust. It's not super, super exciting, but uh, next year it will be. This is all, we're laying the foundation now for stuff that's going to happen in a couple of months. Beth Noyes says, I need to watch one. I'll watch the new one first. Yeah, watch the new one first. It's everything the old one is. Excuse me. It's everything the old one is and more. I'm going to put up some information on this for you guys. So he talked to the here it is. The will this work? Uh Moment of Contact, New Revelations. Oh, it's not letting me show the poster here. So let's see if I can do it this way. It's called New Revelations. That's the one you want to look for. And he's got this great interview with Eric Davis and one of the surgeons in Virginia who was there when they brought the being in, one of the beings that from the crash that survived the crash. And then he talks to one of the guys who was a driver that transported the body of one of these beings from the hospital where it was at to a location where it was taken by the Americans. And he expands on sort of the backstory of what happened to these bodies when they were pulled out of there. And then the people in the story were approached by CIA or some intelligence people and basically offered the opportunity to be paid off, to be bought off, to say that nothing happened. It was all, a misunderstanding. And they refused that, stuck with their story. And then they were subsequently threatened into silence um, by these same people. And so you get all of this extra context, which is really cool. And there's one scene, it's in the original as well, but there's this one scene where the guy who witnessed it, there was a guy who watched it, the craft, come in, and it was on fire. It was like damaged, and it comes in, and he sees it sail across the sky and hit. And he was there to fly ultralight airplanes that day with a flying club that he was part of. So he thought this was an aircraft that had gone down. And he goes out to that location. He sees the crash of this craft, and he realizes this is a non-human craft, and there's aliens. And he sees the debris, and just about that time, the Brazilian army shows up and threatens him at gunpoint and sends him away. Well, there's a scene in this documentary where James Fox, his interpreter, and his production team are with this guy, and they go out to the same location, and they're looking around. They're driving around in this car, and they're looking around for like, where did this event take place? And they kind of zero in on this one particular area where the landscape looks like it matches what he was describing. And you see this guy, like, all these years later, he realizes, oh, that's where the thing went down. Holy shit. And he breaks down, he cries, he goes over and touches the ground, and he just has this like huge emotional moment. And it's just, when you see it, it really hits hard that this is such a real event for these people. They really did experience this. And there's so much to see here. Interestingly, when I talked to James in this interview, and it's in the interview, it's fun. We had this like just funny sidebar conversation. Virginia happened in, I want to say it was 1995, I think, 96, 95. Um, and right around that same time, Lance Corporal John Wygant, who was a United States Marine stationed in Peru, was present at his unit was deployed to secure a crash site. There was a crash. His unit was basically under the impression that it was an American or Peruvian military plane that had gone down, or helicopter or something, and they went out to secure the crash site. This guy was a Lance Corporal at the time, 1995, 96, somewhere in there, and he gets there, and they realize this is a crashed spaceship. It's an alien craft. And he is interviewed by Stephen Greer. And you can find this interview. I've done a few videos on it on this channel, but there's this great interview. He's only done 2 interviews. The first interview, you can see he's visibly like freaked out. Even as he's telling the story, he's like super weird about the whole thing. And then he gives a follow-up interview years later. And in that interview, he is even more freaked out. And he's like, I really don't want to talk about this. And then he just ghosts everybody. But anyway, I was asked James Fox, I said, are you familiar with this case? Because this happened right around the same time that Virginia happened. And he goes, dude, not only am I familiar with that case, I was the guy in the room shooting. I was running the camera for Stephen Greer that day. I'm in that room when John Wygant is giving that interview. I'm the guy shooting it. And Stephen Greer is sitting off to the side asking the questions. And to his credit, I said, well, dude, what do you think about that case? That's one of the probably more, if not most interesting cases I can think of, right? Remember, the Peruvian Air Force has this whole um, arm that is just, this is all that they do. And this would have been in the mid 1990s. So, and when Wygant tells the story, he basically says, we got to the crash site, we secured the crash site, and then, like, before you know it, all of these gigantic aircraft come in, the Americans show up, all these guys are in black uniforms. They just arrest everybody. It was kind of like what, oh man, what's his name? The Marine who was in the Philippines. Why is his name escaping me right now? Um, anyway, when he said they ran into these guys in the jungle and they basically took all their weapons and they were like, we're going to arrest you, like a squad of Marines, right? You don't just do that, but these guys did. And he said these guys showed up, they arrested all the Marines, they zip tied him, they put him into a helicopter, they threatened to throw him out of a helicopter into the jungle. And he said before they did all that, they took him, or he saw a bunch of guys in windbreakers that said DOE. He goes, Delta Oscar Echo, DOE, Department of Energy. All these guys got off the airplanes. Or these big helicopters. And then he said there were like 12 guys in, like, he didn't say moon suits, but like those top level, top tier nuclear, biological, chemical suits, that type of protective gear. Those guys all got off and they marched out and secured this craft. The craft that he described looked like a giant egg. It was broken open on one side, had a big gash in the back. It had this ooze coming out of it. It looked like purple, like glow in the dark Ninja Turtle ooze. I don't know how else to describe it. That's what he says. Not Ninja Turtle ooze, but he describes it in much the same way as one would describe radioactive Ninja Turtle ooze. And he said he got it on his uniform. It burned his uniform. It burned the hair off his skin. And it's just this crazy story. And he said, as he's saying it, like you just watch this guy's emotions. He's just reliving this whole experience. And it goes even a step further. And he says, after he was arrested and brought to another location where he was basically told to shut the fuck up for the rest of his life, or they would throw him out of a helicopter in the jungle. At that base, he's like, I get to this base, they take me off this helicopter, and I'm looking around, and there's Russians, there's Chinese, there's like all of these other militaries from around the world. They're all these personnel, and they're all on the same base, and they're running around like they all work together. It was really weird. And he just kind of like clocked that as this is really out of the ordinary. I didn't know this base was even here. Like what are they doing here? Who are these people? What is it that they do here? So it was like this really bizarre data point. And yeah, come to find out, James Fox was the camera operator in the room that day. Okay, let's see. I gotta catch up on this chat. Um, Weygant, Obi Wan Shinobi. Weygant is Weygandt. Look up Lance Corporal John Weygant, NDT. If you go on YouTube, when I always tell people use DuckDuckGo as your search engine. Somehow, when you search these things within YouTube, they just don't lead you to the right video. But if you go to DuckDuckGo and then do a video search, John Weygant, Stephen Greer, it should come up right away. Magic Russ. Yep, DOE are the gatekeepers. They are the gatekeepers. That's what everybody keeps telling us. And the shipping containers. Yeah. That was what's his name? Oh, who is that guy? Makes one wonder, Darth Kazimov, if the mixed military base were all hybrids. I don't think so. I think that there is probably a supranational group, or at least there was at one time. Or if it's a corporate group, there could be just people they've hired from all over the world. Some of the best people in the world might just be the people that were recruited directly out of government programs and all co-opted into some sort of like gray zone corporate military hybrid program where they all wear unmarked uniforms and kind of work in a quasi military sort of way, but generally exist outside the normal chain of command and oversight. Don't forget, the CIA has been found proven. This is a proven fact. Anybody can look this up. Selling crack in American cities, like to fund all of their weird off the books black budget shit that they do. So these people, like they have no rule book. Like there's no limit to what they will do. So I think Weygant was probably looking at it as a young Marine, Lance Corporal in his 20s. He's sitting there like, this is nothing like what I expect. Like what would you think? You're fresh out of wherever, South Carolina or wherever he's from, and you're in Peru and you're in the jungle, and suddenly you're in a helicopter and there's a guy Like a some Air Force colonel's like, "We'll throw you out in the fucking jungle. People die out here all the time." And then the next thing you know, you're on some base you've never heard of in some place you've never been, and all you see are these different people running around. Um, yeah, I imagine that would be really weird, and you probably wouldn't know what to make of it. But then again, it's like Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is it's a weird sidebar, but I recently rewatched the Kirk Douglas, the original 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea movie. And it was just one of those late nights, and I was like, I'm just looking for something, I guess, old but cool. And it's like when they get on the Nautilus, and the Nautilus is like like 100 years ahead of where technology was at the time. And Kirk Douglas is sort of looking around like, how do you guys do all this stuff? But everything they've got is like they were just part of this group that had a jump on everybody else, just a little bit. I wonder if it's something like that. Like you got this public private sort of cabal, um, and maybe they just have the next century jump on everybody else. The limit does not exist. Where are all the hybrids they created, and what are they doing for real, though? Good question. Where all are all the hybrids they created? We don't know. I mean, look, the hybrid thing, there are a lot of different ways you can look at that. Um, if you just go by the history and the lore and the statements of people who claim to be abductees and contactees, if you read uh, Missing Time, Abductions, any of David Jacobs' books, there are there's a certain group of people, and there are not a small group, but a number of people who are very reputable and you know have made claims that there is a ongoing effort to somehow do some kind of genetic experimentation on people and produce hybrids. As weird as that is to say out loud, it's even weirder to think that over the last, I don't know, 60, 75 years, enough people have been saying that if it's not true, we have to find another explanation for why that many people of all walks of life, all different educational backgrounds, levels of education, financial means, etc., are saying basically the same thing. And if you can find me an explanation that satisfies that, then I guess I'll be interested to hear it. But I just don't know what that would be. So I don't know what's weirder. The only thing that comes close that I can think of is that it is some kind of there would be some kind of long term. I mean, really weirdly organized effort to sort of psyop a bunch of people into believing something like this or believing this happened, which I get. There's weirder things have happened. MK Ultra is a real thing. I mean, that's just one of the things we know about. Imagine all the things we don't know. But I think it's unlikely that you could rope in, you know, hundreds of people from across decades all around the world claiming to have had face-to-face contact or abduction experiences of one form or another. There's no way to explain all of that away that I can see. If there is, I would love someone to explain it to me. Um, maybe, but many might not might be used. Let's see, but many might be used as a liaison between us and them, working in deep underground military bases and within black ops. Yeah, I mean, maybe. You know, that's the thing, right? Like that's the thing about all of this is maybe, could be. I don't know. And I think that's one of the things that I told you this was going to be a weird live stream. You're just gonna have to bear with me. But one of the things about being away from the night shift desk for a couple of weeks and just hiking around in the middle of nowhere is that I had an opportunity to have some distance from all this. I wasn't really reading UFO UAP news. I wasn't on Reddit very much. I had a very difficult time keeping up with all the group chats that I'm in. I'm in like you know a dozen different group chats of various sizes that I try to stay on top of just to keep an idea or keep abreast of what's going on. And I didn't have time for any of that. So instead, what happened was I just focused on what I was doing and I focused on where I was and I enjoyed that time. And I just took a big, long, healthy break from UFOs for a couple of weeks. Even though a lot of what I was doing was related to UFOs, I wasn't thinking about it all day. I wasn't thinking about like producing content out of it. I was more like enjoying my trip. Right. Um, but part of what came from that was when I got back, I'm on the flight back, and then once I had a chance to kind of reset and decompress, um, it just became clear to me that you've got to that a lot of what people are doing with podcasts, like in the podcast space, particularly with regard to UFOs, because the topic is so hot right now. And I think this is a trap that I fell into in the early days of night shift. A lot of people are trying to solve the mystery, right? Like they're solving UFOs. I watched somebody in the Discord. We have a great Discord community, by the way. If you're not in it, you should be in it. And somebody in the Discord this morning, I was looking at it. I'm in there a lot, but I don't like post or respond to every single thing. But I was in there this morning, and somebody posted a link to Bledsoe Said So, the most recent episode that went up yesterday, and it was Ryan Bledsoe talking about his family's experience and the Bledsoe case and the way that that played out in the ufology community and how that affected his family um and one of the things that stood out to me about this, and with all respect to the Bledsoe family, and I find their case absolutely fascinating and I think that they're good people, but he seemed in this podcast very certain. He's like, look, we know what this is. We know what this is because my father was told this is what it is. And and then he was like, don't listen to somebody like Stephen Greer because that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And meanwhile, I'm watching him and he's like, look, I know what it is. I have the answers. And I think what I'm driving at here with this is that as I stepped back from night shift for a little while, what I realized is what night shift's trying to do is we don't have the answers. I don't believe that anybody has the answers. And I think that's important, an important distinction. I'm not trying to solve this mystery because it can't be solved. Not by me, not by any one individual. There's certainly no podcaster who's going to solve it. But what I can do is talk about it and discuss, like, we can play in this space. And it's a big, interesting universe with a lot of fascinating people and a lot of amazing research and a lot of truth and a lot of misinformation. And it's all there, it's all mixed in. So this is about exploring that world. And another thing that became clear to me was that focusing on the disclosure government sort of conversation, this narrative of like, this is what's happening, it's all unfolding on a certain timeline. This is something Kelly Chase said to me like a year ago. She was like, that's only a piece of this puzzle. And it's one small piece. It's not the big, there's the whole world is happening out there. So I guess I had enough space and enough distance to appreciate that and rethink think the way that I'm going to approach sort of covering this topic and how I talk about it. Not in a huge way. It's just it was like an adjustment. I think I needed to take a break. I was kind of burnt out. I was hitting the wall anyway. It's exhausting. Anybody who tells you it's not is lying. It is exhausting because you're always in this mode of like, as a content creator or a podcaster, you're in this mode of like, how can I make this work for my channel? How can I grow my channel? How can I think about, what everything that happens in a day, and even on my trip just now, I caught myself asking myself that question a few times, and I red flagged it, and I said, I'm not going to try to figure out how to make this work for my channel. I'm just going to enjoy the experience and be here now, and I'll figure that all out later after I have the experience. But right now, I don't want to be in that mind space, because for the other 11 months out of the year, that's all you're thinking about is like, oh my God, I have to watch 20 podcasts. I have to look at all these different things. I have to read all these different whistleblower statements. I've got to figure out, what's happening. And then I have to come up with an answer. And that can be, I don't know, very stressful. So it's nice to take a break. Herrera, that's the guy's name. Thanks, chat. Mm. It was Michael Herrera with the black octagon and the shipping containers in Indonesia. That's what it was. Yeah, so Michael Herrera described more or less the same flavor of situation that John Waygant described, which is really interesting. Um, yeah, so Sarinar 3 says, this thing blocks my whole head. Um, I totally agree. I feel the same way. I think anyone who thinks they have everything figured out is either lying, being lied to, or delusional. No one can know exactly what's going on 100%. That's it, right? Like that's the distinction that you need to make. I think that's the distinction that separates a healthy interest in a very interesting topic from a unhealthy obsession with something that is like, I don't know, unknowable, right? Like even if disclosure happened tomorrow, and even if what everything you imagined it could be, right? And let's say that included the president of your choice from the party of your preference, someone that you trust, coming out in front of cameras, at the White House and saying, whatever, reading this official statement. This is what we have. This is what we know. This is what's going on. You're never, even if we knew what planet they're from, you're never going to go there. Even if it's this planet, you're never going to go there. They come from the center of the earth, the hollow earth. Okay, well, when were you ever going to go to the hollow earth? You know, probably not. It's one of those little aspects of this conversation that a little nuance of it that we talk about a lot on the Friday show, on the Friday live stream, which is like, what would it take to satisfy what you think it needs to be now that this has been built up in our collective subconscious, our collective psyche for 70, 80 years now, from one generation to the next, one, layer on top of another layer on top of another layer culturally to, to release that pressure, and achieve some type of a closure that you would feel is like satisfactory. What would it actually take? And I don't think most people really know. The best answer that we've been able to come up with, just amongst my friends and I, just the night shift guys, and Xander and Dan and Pavel and our mod team, Chris and Brett, like the best we can come up with is something that stops the world for at least a day, something that completely arrests the entire news cycle. In other words, a total cultural um, moment that the entire world feels like all at one time. Some kind of like almost like a reset, almost like either a reset or like a beat to like reset the rhythm. And I think part of that, if I'm while we're spitballing this, part of it might have something to do with the scope and scale of how big this topic is. If any one part of it could be proven to the whole world beyond the shadow of a doubt, it would be, of course, the biggest news of all time. But also, I think the other side of that is that people feel so um, unmoored from from the world around them. It feels like we're all in free fall, right? Like we're watching in real time the world change in ways that are so profound that we should. This is like red alert, four alarm fire level. You know, shifts, tectonic shifts that are taking place, and geopolitically and technologically, and at the speed is part of it. It's so fast, and the whole the rules of the entire game are being rewritten so quickly, and we can all see it, and we can all talk about it in real time. And so, there's this collective sense of like we're all sort of looking around at each other and expecting to see other people start to freak out when it gets really scary. But because no one's really freaking out, everyone's sort of pretending like it's all good. You have this sort of hyper normalization moment that we're in where we all collectively feel like something needs to shift, something needs to change, right? Something's wrong, something is incorrect. Like when you lift something too heavy and just something happens and you feel like a little click in your back and you're like, "Ooh, that wasn't that wasn't right. That's not going to feel good tomorrow." We feel that, right? Under the surface, there's something is just completely wrong and we can't quite put our finger on it because there are too many competing factions all trying to muddy the waters. I'm not talking about just UFOs. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about just being alive. If you're an adult, if you're in your productive years as an adult, God forbid you have children and you're trying to navigate the next 25 years and think about the future and you're like, "Oh fuck, what do I, tell my kid? How do I explain how do I tell this kid that yeah, you're welcome to Earth. By the way, we're sailing straight into a climate catastrophe of biblical proportions and it's mostly going to play out in your lifetime." How do you tell them that? How do you tell them that all of these other things, the age of privacy is completely over and you're in this ubiquitous surveillance state, and there's this complete radical rethinking of warfare that's probably going to lead to some enormous global conflict within the next decade. I mean, there's all these different things that are going on, and people are looking at like the political landscape and they're going, well, where the fuck are the leaders here? Like, where are the options? Like, we have all of this. I think this is what's so frustrating to me as I look at the United States and I go, we have so many resources at our disposal. We have the ability to solve all of our problems. Really, I mean, anything that we need to. I mean, homelessness is a solvable problem. Hunger is a solvable problem. Clean water is a solvable problem. These are engineering problems. These distribution problems. It's not production. We have more houses than we have homeless people by a lot. A lot. This is allocation, resource allocation, um, and we don't. We just don't solve those problems. And instead, we just piss away billions and billions of dollars into like fucking forever wars and nonsense interventions in other parts of the world that don't make any sense. And of course, corruption and giveaways, and we're giving billions of dollars of subsidies to the people who need it the most, and then these same billionaires are turning around and calling the regular people of the world leeches and parasites for trying to make sure that they have social security or something they can retire on. And if you're in that zone right now, if you're in that like working age sort of, you've got, at least for me, I look out at the near future landscape, and my wife and I just talked about this today, where she was like, Social Security is not going to be there for us, and I said, "Did you think it was ever going to be there?" I've just operated under the assumption that there will be no Social Security by the time I'm old enough to collect it. It just won't be there. Um, so figure it out. Just whatever you got to do, and like that's kind of the vibe, at least in the United States. For my European friends, especially those in more, I don't know, Nordic countries, I don't know what your social safety net is like wherever you are, but here in the States, the attitude is like succeed or, get rich or die trying. That's pretty much it. And there's no second chances and there's no help. So I think the idea of a disclosure event or a mass sighting event would act as some sort of like an equilibrium, I don't know, reset. And it might just like spur some creative thinking or some new ideas or some um I don't know. I think part of what makes the powers that be so nervous about the concept of disclosure in broad strokes, one of the reasons why they say it would, or they want us to believe it would be completely destabilizing, because it would be, but not because people can't handle it. I think the attitude, at least the way it's always been explained to me, was that, oh, people won't be able to handle it. There are too many religious people. The religious people will freak out. They won't know what to do. I think people could handle it. I think most people will handle it because we've handled everything else that's ever happened and we really don't have a choice. So, like, whether or not you handle it, air quotes on handle, is really irrelevant. But I think a bigger question arises when you see that there's another society, another civilization that has done things differently, and it represents an alternative path. That could be tremendously destabilizing because it would show that there is an alternative, and it would prove that the existing system is not the best system. It's just a system. And we're constantly told that it's the capitalism is the best system. This is the best it's ever going to be. This is the best you could ever hope for. And we should just keep doing what we're doing the same way we've always done it because it's been proven to work and it's worked so far. But I think if people got an idea of what an alternative society could look like, that could be, once that seed is planted, there's no unplanting it. And the the collision of those two cultures, those two types of worldview, um, would not be survivable. Like our society wouldn't survive that long term. I don't think it could. Um, Not in the same way that it is now. Paul Panda says we get a general basic income for our future instead. Sucks to grow old in this day and age, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, well, define worked so far. Well, worked so far for who? Well, look at this is what I say all the time. Like, look at you can see who's winning capitalism. There is a scoreboard and there are names at the top of it. And you know who they are, right? Just look at the top 100 players on the scoreboard. That's who's winning. So that's one nice thing. We know who these people are. Um, you know, so who is it working for? It's working for them. But this system is not the only viable system, and it's not like it has to be this way. And I think one of the most important things that I take away from this year, 2025, looking at it, looking back on it, is, you know, th- I've said it before, and I sometimes I get heat for going there, but you're in a class war and you're losing, right? Unless you are a billionaire, you're in a class war and you're getting your ass kicked. And that's just the way it is. And I would say that like my biggest lesson coming out of 2025, if there's a message that I could repeat to every single person that I meet that I would just tell over and over again, it's like You've got to look at the top of the scoreboard and you've got to start thinking seriously. And we have to have this real honest conversation across our culture, across our society about reining these motherfuckers in. We got to rein these motherfuckers in. We can't let them run away and take all of the money. That's insane. And we need to all talk about it seriously. We need to ask questions about the stories that we're told about how brilliant these people are and how genius they are and how they we can't change a thing. We have to constantly give them whatever it is that they want just because if we don't, oh God, the Chinese might win at something or be better. We're always fed this story about why it's okay that, nine guys own all the money and everybody else is like staff at their resort that they live in. Like I saw this meme the other day and it was a guy, it was the guy and he goes like, planet Earth is like a resort for 500 rich people and the rest of us are just the staff. And I was like, dude, that is it. Um, Concentrated wealth and power in too few hands. It's never a good idea. It's never been a good idea. You can see it now. Um, if you care about disclosure, if you care about any of these things, you should be questioning all of these people. Um, Paul Panda says, "Careful, we will get labeled anti-Semites for calling out the top 100." Well, okay, so I'm not, look, that's not what I'm about. I'm not trying to say that there's a secret group of people that all belong to one religion and they're controlling the world. But if there is a religion that controls these people, it's the religion of money. When I say look at the top 100 people on the chart, I'm just saying look at your top wealthiest people in the top 1% of the top 1%. Obviously, they're doing quite well. I would ask, how are they doing quite well? Like, what is it that they do? You know, um, for example, Elon Musk, just to pick one. I mean, the first trillionaire, right, or will be, ran this Department of Government Efficiency, went into the federal government with a group of 20 something nerds that are answerable to no one, that required no background check, um, no qualifications were submitted other than they had to be, Elon had to like them. And they were given access to all Americans, all 300 plus million Americans' personal information. Carte blanche. They were allowed to harvest that data and take it and do whatever it is that they did with it. And no one knows, and no one will ever know. And while that process was going on, this same man was firing tens of thousands of federal employees at a time where they are in dire financial straits because most people are paycheck to paycheck in this country. And they were basically being told, justify your existence or lose your job by a guy who has more money than he could ever spend in 100 lifetimes. And that is an unnecessary demonstration of cruelty. And I think it's fucking pathological. And I think it's awful. Um, and then the same guy takes billions of dollars in federal subsidies and handouts from government contracts to run his own private space program. And he's constantly on drugs. The guy is high as fuck on ketamine all the time. He's in the Oval Office, just like in a K hole on camera, and you can watch him. You can watch it. This is stuff that would get you fired from a Wendy's. Misplaced the fucking key to a Wendy's. If you're the, if you're working the night shift at Wendy's and you got to close up or whatever, you will be fired. Steal a password from a work computer and you will lose your job. But Elon Musk is able to go in and do whatever the fuck he wants. And he does. And no one asks him any questions. And then when it all doesn't work out, he just sort of like sidesteps off stage and it's like, and we're all on to the next thing. And I think that's bullshit. And I think it's got to stop. And I think he's just one of these people. But I would love to see this guy reined in. I'm not saying he's not smart, and I'm not saying that he's not, he hasn't done amazing things, but I think we need to like dial way, way down how smart we think these people are and how much adoration we shower them with just because. It's like, okay, you're the CEO of like 18 companies, but how is that possible? It's not. right? Like you can't work, you can't be giving your best self, your best work to every single one of the companies that you claim to be running. How can you do that? No one has that kind of time. I don't buy it. I just don't buy the superhuman work ethic where it's like we're going to lecture everyone else on what they should be doing, but we're subject to no such restriction. It's astonishing to me. And all these guys, like they're building bunkers, they're building survival bunkers. This is, every survival bunker that a billionaire builds is like healthcare for a child that was not given to a parent when they needed it. You know, that think about it like that. That's a college education. That's a hospital. That's all of the things that we need more of in our society. We could have more if we just didn't let 5, 10 people keep all the fucking money. And I know that sounds like, oh, what a communist. But I'm sorry, if $100 million is not enough for you, then I guess you can fuck right off. Like I don't know what else to say. Like $100 million, like where there should be a limit to how much these people can accumulate. It's astounding to me. And we are trained from a young age to like recoil at that idea, at the very notion of restricting the ultimate supreme wealth of the top percent. We are told that these are the most productive people, or they wouldn't be there. They're the most successful, effective people, or they wouldn't be there. So how dare you even discuss the idea? They'll just take their money and leave. I don't know about that. These are just my ramblings. How many tax breaks we give them? They get. I mean, they effectively pay no tax. To the people who are in the chat saying, whatever, it's about this group or that group of people, um, and putting a religious twist on this whole thing. I think what I would say is that's unnecessary. I don't think you have to do that. Wealthy, successful, big business interests and the owners of those big businesses know what's good for them, right? Like they don't need to call a meeting. They don't need to, you know, be in a secret society. They hang out at the same clubs. They, you know, it's a small group. It's not a huge group of people. So, yeah, they have intertwining. It's not a conspiracy. It's business, right? This is just people doing business. But they have done business in such a way so as to stack the deck in their favor consistently, generation after generation, until we get to where we're at today, where the situation is so fucked up and the future is so bleak for the average working person who's looking out at the future. And they're like, well, maybe I can afford a tiny home if I put it on wheels and I live in a campground. Like we're sold on this idea of like tiny living or get a tiny home or live out of the back of a fucking van. But when I was growing up, that was called being homeless. If you lived in a van, like that was a Chris Farley bit on Saturday Night Live. And now it's like an accepted way of life. I feel like we should be pushing back on that conversation and saying, like, no, we want the same level of shit that a prior generation had or the prior generations had. And we need to see politicians react to that and go tax the people who have the money and use that money to improve the society that we all live in. Um, yeah, put a cap on billionaires, 1 billion at most. Then the rest goes to the rest of us, or just get rid of money altogether. It's made up anyway. Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're gonna roll out a universal basic income, which will come in the form of some kind of cryptocurrency that'll be trackable, and they'll and they can see this coming from a mile away. They're going to crash the economy. AI and automation will absorb most of the opportunities for work that people have today. And then once all of that labor market has been absorbed by AI and automation companies, they will the economy will be difficult to sustain because consumers won't really have any disposable income anymore, and it will become necessary to roll out some kind of universal basic income. So they will use that opportunity, I think, to make you an offer you can't refuse. They'll say, "Look, we're going to give everybody 5,000 Disney dollars a month, or whatever the fuck it is, 5,000 Grok coins or Altman bucks or whatever it is," and that's it. You get that no matter what. But the catch is, you have it's all electronic, and we know where you spend it and when you spend it, and how much you have in your account at all times. And we would never do anything with that information. Don't worry, you're fine. But of course, they will do something with it. And then, 20 years from now or 10 years from now, they decide that they don't like the way you talk about whatever. They'll just turn it off, or they'll freeze your funds, or they'll lock you out of your account, or something like that. So this is interesting. So what's going on in the chat? Are you guys not seeing the same things I'm seeing? I'm looking in the YouTube chat and I'm seeing all of these messages. Is there an alternative chat going on? Magic Russ. Uh what? Alternative chat? Is there a non-member chat? No, this is it. You guys are in the chat. Adam Wright says, I have a gut feeling that the bunker situation is due to these tech feudalists thinking that there is a very high chance of general AI being completely destructive. Yes, I think that's a huge part of it. I think that they know enough to be fucking terrified. And I think that that's the most like unnerving part about the moment that we're living through right now is that the CEOs of these massive AI companies, the smartest people in this field, and their entire teams, support teams of engineers and AI architects and assorted geniuses are all more or less saying in unison, this is probably going to kill all of us, this technology. It may not be ChatGPT or Grok or what, it may be something else that we haven't seen quite yet, but on a long enough timeline, and remember, we're on exponentials here. So a long enough timeline might only be 10, 15, 20 years. On a long enough timeline, there is what, maybe your P doom number. They have a P doom number. Everybody's got one, right? Probability of doom, 10%, 20%. I think the lowest I've heard is 10, 15%. Imagine a 10, 15% chance that all life on Earth will be wiped out, or human civilization will be brought under the control of a non human intelligence of artificial origin. The prevailing minds of the day calculated the chance of a nuclear war between the United States and Soviet Union and the Soviet Union at something like 4 or 5%. I want to say I could be wrong on that. If somebody's got a more accurate number, let me know. But for 4 or 5% likelihood of a nuclear war between the Soviet Union and the United States, they were able to justify tens of trillions of dollars. The entire Cold War All of the nuclear buildup, all of the nuclear weapons, the round the clock bombers, the nuclear aircraft carriers, submarine fleets, um, Star Wars techno, all of that military buildup, all of it. Think about the alternative, what you could have gotten for that amount of money. Think about the society that we could have built if instead of building every time we went to build an aircraft carrier, instead we built 250 hospitals or whatever, take your pick. If we're saying if the people at the top of the AI field are saying that across the board, more or less, and I think there is a chart somewhere that tracks this. I don't know what the numbers are because I don't follow this as closely as some people do, but it's pretty high. I think their lowest average number is something like 10-15%, which is what 300% higher than we thought of a nuclear war with the Soviet Union. So if you, I mean, just based on those numbers alone, there should be a Herculean effort underway right now to get a handle on this technology and make sense of some kind of a safety um, architecture. But I don't think that's happening. In fact, it's not happening. So these guys know this is coming, and they're building these bunkers not just for that eventuality, but I think that the knock-on effects of it, right? Like, so if we know that this technology is going to be the most, or is the most powerful technology in the world, powerful artificial intelligence and advanced drone technology combined are the flavor of World War III, I think. So that makes data centers, satellite networks, communication infrastructure, all of these things, but particularly data centers, legitimate military targets. And if those are legitimate military targets, look what happened just this morning. Wasn't Moscow completely blacked out? And then a couple of days ago, it was San Francisco, right? Complete blackout. All the Waymo taxis just went crazy. This morning, the the instability of the game board. I don't know how military planners can even think of it. I really don't, and I think that's even more frightening because they're going to turn more and more of this strategic planning over to systems like this. And eventually, we get to a point where the world is so complicated that the only thing that can understand it is a machine, and we just hand over our agency to a lot of these machines. And one day you wake up in a world where they're controlling 51% or more of everything. And that's it. There's no clawing it back from there. This is what Connor Leahy says. He's a thinker in this space who speaks a lot about the moment we lose control will probably be a moment we don't notice until a few years later. And we look back and we go, oh, that was when it happened. We kind of gave them all the keys. And then the AIs just sort of ran away with everything. And we were in their world. And it sounds kind of weird to think about, but there could be, you could imagine a scenario where um, automated production chains just exist without human input and they can mine the minerals, transport them from place to place with humanoid robots, driverless trucks, take it to a factory, produce whatever material, maybe within a 50 or 100-year time frame, completely automated supply chain from mineral extraction to final fabrication of the final product. What do humans have to offer in that world? Maybe some cool creative design ideas, but more or less like guidance. The AIs will do most of the work. So the number of jobs that will be available is going to be a fraction of a fraction of a tiny percentage of what there is today. And the idea of like defining yourself by any kind of work is going to revert back to like what do you really enjoy doing and what are you really good at. But in the process of getting from where we are today to getting to that step, you have to have a complete breakdown and collapse in society. So a lot of these billionaires are building these survival bunkers not to protect themselves necessarily from the oncoming or incoming robot apocalypse, but probably from the fucking societal breakdown and pitchforks and Tiki Torch's crowd that's going to come first. That's the thing I think they're really worried about. Remember, Occupy Wall Street. This was back in like 2007, 2008. There was a movement called Occupy Wall Street. And this group of protesters basically figured out that the center of power in the United States wasn't Washington, D.C., it was Wall Street. So they went down to Zuccotti Park and they took over this park and they started protesting. And then that protest quickly turned into a movement. And before you knew it, they had hundreds and hundreds of people in tents camping out all around the financial district in New York, talking about alternative economic systems, talking about taxing the rich, talking about regulating these companies that were just running amok, getting money out of politics, having very substantive and productive conversations about the nature of wealth distribution and power distribution in this country. And right at about that time, during the Barack Obama presidency, I might add, the Zuccotti Park, Occupy Wall Street protests were squashed. Squashed. They sent in the prototype of like what you see now, these super cops that come in body armor and armored vehicles back in 2008. It's like NYPD guys, riot police sent in with like fire extinguishers of pepper spray, and they would just fucking blast these students and homeless people and just torched all these people. And right around that same time, Barack Obama was in office, and he was like, "Oh, we've got to build a better America, and we need to make it, opportunities for everybody," and blah blah blah. So I think there's going to be a reckoning in this country and in the world, but I think in this particular moment, America is going to have the toughest time of it. I think that people are going to come to grips with the new reality in the worst possible way, and I think they're going to be pissed, and they're going to be angry, and they're going to be justifiably angry. But what they do with that anger, I think, is what frightens the billionaire class. I think that's why you see so many of them hunkering down and building bunkers, and it's there are too the attack surface is too great, uh, and they're pissing off too many people, and they know it. They know what they're doing. I'm feeling Scotch and Doom. YouTube chat is so primitive. Slowly cranking the Doom meter. Brian, I'm not cranking the Doom meter because I don't like to be doomy. I don't it's not that. I'm not trying to make you guys feel any particular level of doom. I think I think that a lot of it has to do with, you know, I find it boring to just sit here and talk about UFOs all the time. I just do. I think it's boring, like there are other things in the world that are also going on at the same time. I think UFOs are one of the most interesting things happening in the world at any given moment, but it's part of a larger tapestry of things that are going on. And if you ignore the larger tapestry and you don't take an opportunity to step back and examine it from time to time, what'll happen is you'll get so focused on a little tiny piece of the puzzle that you miss the bigger picture that's playing out all around, which might be the reason why you're focused in on this thing to begin with, right? Like maybe um, there's a reason the power dynamic is the way that it is, and maybe that if we address that, we can get to disclosure in a way that makes more sense, right? Like an example of this would be money in politics, right? Money in politics creates a revolving door situation between the defense industry and the political world, where these guys can leave a military job, go into a lobbying position, or go work for a defense contractor, and then one hand washes the other, and you get these insane contracts for billions of dollars that disappear to a black hole. That money's never seen again, and we don't know where it goes or what's done with it. We just don't know. And that's money that could be spent on, I don't know, providing basic medical services for new mothers in, impoverished communities, or all new mothers, regardless. Maybe that would be something nice, right? Like maybe building better schools, building more water treatment plants, fixing the lead pipes in old building. Like pick anything, pick a fucking problem. We've got plenty, right? What problem could you solve with an unlimited fire hose of billions of dollars? Well, we have one. It's just pointed into the fucking mouth of the military industrial complex, and that's where all that money goes. And so would propose to you that if you want to deal with that problem, one way to do it would be to say, hey, look, we need to look at all these people. We need to look at the CEOs. We need to hold them responsible. If a company fucks up, the CEO should go to jail. If a corporation is a person, then let's throw the board of directors into prison. Like there needs to be some stakes for these guys. There's no stakes for them. Elon Musk, he's always like teasing people. Well, I might know something or I might not, or maybe I do, or maybe I don't, why are we giving this guy billions of dollars of government contracts and subsidies when there are kids who can't get a lunch at school? That's a real fucking problem. And I think it's kind of badass to ask these questions and to point that out. And I think that like, if that feels doomery, I don't mean it to, but I think that, a sufficient vibe of doominess motivates one to get pissed off, and it can be a very good driver of action. You should feel a sense of anger about all this stuff. You should feel like they've done you wrong, because they fucking have, and they've been doing you wrong for your whole life. Like this whole generation. I'm 45 years old this year. 45 years. Things have not gotten better in my lifetime. Like they've gotten consistently worse. And the entire time this has been going on, we have been told over and over and over again, just trust us. This party's going to fix it. This party's going to fix it. Whatever. Just don't look over here. Leave us alone. Let us do what we do. We'll take care of business. All you need to do is recycle, follow the rules, do whatever you're supposed to do and stay out of trouble, and things will take care of themselves. Well, they haven't. And I think it's time to get pissed off and say, well, what the fuck? Baby boomers have been pissed off forever. They wake up pissed off. They wake up. These are people who've had it all, had everything. Never had a better setup than the baby boomer generation. They rolled into an economy where everything was just humming along. You could work a regular job. You could take care of a family. You could buy a house. You could send a kid to college on one income. And by the time my generation rolled around in the 1980s, it took two incomes to do the same thing. But by the time you got to the 2000s and the 2008 financial crash, all of that had evaporated. And then it was basically like, just fucking grind your gears. And that's then when I got into my 20s and 30s, that's when you started hearing these new terms. They would invent new words to sort of make the idea of getting fucked over by the billionaire class. It's like cool, like your side hustle, and you got to like rise and grind and like get your, you got to grind your shit and get out there and make that dollar. And meanwhile, systemically, there was this complete dismantling of anything that resembled a safety net for the average working person. I'll give you an example. In the United States, if you want to have health care, you either have to be a trust fund kid or have a job that gives you health care, or somehow be independently financially like so well off that you can afford to buy insurance without having an employer and spend upwards of like $1,000, $2,000 a month. I know people, I have friends that are entrepreneurs, business owners, successful, very successful, own amazing restaurants, and but the cost of their fucking health insurance is untenable. And these are people who should be doing financially very well, but they struggle to even just like get by because of the amount of drag on the system. And it's just everywhere at every level. And if you're in your 30s now or your 20s, and you're trying to think about, we hear this all the time. There's a population collapse. There's a population collapse. There's not enough people. People aren't having enough children. Well, gee, I wonder why. It costs a fucking fortune to have a child, and then to raise it, and then the cost of the stress, like the actual cost on your physical health, the toll of the stress of thinking about like, how do I navigate the next 30 years and produce an adult that will be capable of living in this world, being healthy, um, knowing what the fuck is going on, and somehow manage to like retire myself and also have health care. It's impossible. It's a game that you can't win. So the game is set up that you've got to have this weird fucked up power dynamic with your employer where basically the employer holds your health insurance hostage and you work there, and then you're told, well, if you're worth more, go get more. It's a free labor market. Go wherever you want and go get paid more. Okay, well, what's my opportunity? When do you have the opportunity to do that? You can't leave. You lose your health care. If you lose your health care and you're over 30 or 40 and you have a crisis, God forbid, you're completely bankrupt and you're fucked and you're out of the game altogether. This is my point, right? The wealthy class in this country, the 1%, the billionaire class, these people get infinite redos, unlimited. They can just do over. Something doesn't work, just fucking do over. Hit the reset button. Do it again. Do it again. There's no, it's like a speeding ticket for a working person. A $250 speeding ticket will fucking take you out. It'll take you out. You can miss your rent. That's groceries for 2 weeks. Like that's a lot. That's a $250 speeding ticket because you're late to get to your shitty job and you're trying to get to work because you just dropped off your kid. And now you're trying to you get a ticket like that, you're out of the game. And meanwhile, some dipshit billionaire with a private jet can do whatever the fuck they want and they can pay nothing. And if they do get fined or they have to pay a fee or a ticket, it doesn't affect them. They live in a world where these things don't have any effect on them. There's no, um, it's a post scarcity world for a certain class of people. And I'm just saying, when I get doomery or animated about this, I'm just saying like one of the passions I have in my life, just something I'm very passionate about, is a sense of fairness, and a sense of common shared humanity. I think that's important. I think if you care about UFOs and whether we're alone in the universe or not, whether we make contact with another civilization or we don't, what it all means. I think at the heart of that conversation, you can't have that conversation seriously. You can't seriously engage in that discussion unless at the bottom, at the core, you're concerned with whether or not we like make it. And making it doesn't mean just like there are humans here 100 years from now, but like what is their quality of life? What is the quality of life of your children or your grandchildren going to be? Is it going to be getting better or worse? Well, right now it's getting worse, unless there's some huge reversal that we don't see, coming. And so I that's a part of it. There's an inherent sense of fairness and humanity that I'm concerned about. And then beyond that, I think it's important to answer this idea of it seems to be only a certain class of people qualified to weigh in on massive global issues. I'll let you guess who they are. But it's, the same people on this list, right? Elon Musk, pick your billionaire, it doesn't really matter. They more or less all have some outsized notion of how influential they need to be in global politics and what everybody else should be doing with their time, attention, and money. And I just don't agree with that. I think that there should be a robust public discussion that's taking place at all levels of society. And I think that to the extent that I have a microphone and any kind of a platform, it's something that I want to bring to this discussion because it matters. Um, Artificial intelligence, the technologies that we talk about in the UFO research world, um, of all of them, artificial intelligence is the one that is most clear and present and in our face. It is the most powerful right now and probably going to change our society in ways that we can't even imagine. And we're not even really ready for that. And what's locked up in some of these reverse engineering programs, we're talking about technologies orders of magnitude more powerful than that. if we're going to build if we want to live in a world where this technology is available to us and makes for a better quality of life, then we have to demand a better quality of leadership. We have to hold people to a higher standard. And we have to say, this is not okay. This level of wealth inequality is not okay. There are people at the bottom who need a helping hand. They need some kind of a framework. And we need to think about that. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever your political affiliation is. I think at bottom we can all agree there are just basic, simple human experiences that we all agree are good, right? Like, spending time with friends and family, people you like, people you want to be around, being healthy, laughter, travel, having clean water, basic human shit. And that shouldn't be, these shouldn't be big asks anymore. They should be, these are things that we should be demanding every day. And I don't know. As I was thinking about the year winding down in 2025 and what it all means to me, um, you know, the UFO conversation, the wealth inequality, the political instability of the world, the complete um, unbelievable acceleration of technology, all of these things have left me completely just flabbergasted. Um, I am living in a world now that if I went back in time and tried to explain it to myself in high school, I wouldn't believe it. Like it's hard to believe that we are where we are. It's one of the reasons another one of the reasons why I started this channel was just because I couldn't process. I was just like, this is unreal that this is all happening, but yet here we are. Um, so anyway, I don't know. I feel like I'm losing the thread there, so I'll move on. But yeah, I think you get the idea. It's not all doom. Churches, mosques, name your house. They have a duty to help. You know what's interesting? Uh, in Cusco, there are a lot of churches, and in the Plaza de Armas, where I spent a lot of time, there's an enormous church, beautiful, big Spanish church, and there are homeless people everywhere, all over the place, sleeping outside on the street. Like, and it just occurred to me that if if you were to count the number of churches in a given area, and then you could run the numbers on how many homeless people there are, and you could probably do a pretty quick assessment of like how helpful the churches are at actually like addressing the homelessness problem or the hunger problem or the healthcare problem. And you could probably figure out if they're even doing that, which doesn't seem like they are. At least the ones that are in Cusco weren't. I mean, fucking homeless poor people everywhere and churches everywhere. So if I'm just looking at it and doing the math, I'm going, well, there's a lot. I don't know what your churches are doing. I didn't see any church personnel out attending to the homeless, helping them, giving them food. I didn't see any church staff. They're all inside. No, there's no one out there. Just in church, giant church, and then homeless people sleep. Same thing in New York. Same thing in Manhattan. Go to any, homeless people all over. Um, these people pay no taxes. What's up with all the gold? Silver Stargazer. Once AI and robots replace us, we will truly be the useless eaters. They will not take care of us because we won't be useful to anyone. People need to wake up. 100% agree. 100%. They are going to absorb the workforce. It will be absorbed slowly and then all at once. And it will look like software that is just better at doing the things that you would normally have a person do. And then like there's already a huge debate going on right now about what exactly is happening to jobs in the United States, because the numbers that come out of the Department of Labor are wrong. They're not accurate, and they're giving us they're giving us inaccurate information, and it looks like the job growth is actually zero or a net loss, uh, at least for the last year or two. And that could be because the economy is in the toilet, or it could be because of automation slowly making inroads into some of those jobs. I think it's both. And I think over time, on a long enough timeline, and again, we're dealing in exponentials. So, they're saying that every 9 months, more or less, these AI systems get twice as powerful and cost half as much to run. So, about every 18 months, you're seeing it turn over twice. How many more times does that have to happen before it can easily do whatever job it is at any corporate, like accountants? Uh, there's already software replacing most, accounting stuff. Um, you know, uh, Marketing, production, media. Like I've worked in that business for over 20 years, and I can now do by myself the same volume of work that it used to take a crew of 10, 15, 20 people to do. And I would pay them to do it. So now, that, like you're seeing in real time how quickly all this stuff is shifting. And eventually you're going to have a world where there just won't be an opportunity unless you can figure out how to make one. And I don't think people have been taught how to think that way. We've been taught in a school system that was designed during the Industrial Revolution to create a workforce that was specialized and trained to go out and do like whatever the thing is that you need to do. But we are not getting there is no preparation happening right now for what comes next. And by the time that happens, it's going to be too late. Um, Paul Panda, thank you again. Mutual appreciation for the stream and your hard work. Thanks. Let's focus on positive change. Dwelling on the darkness won't help. I am going to push back on that. Let's focus on positive change. Dwelling in the darkness won't help. I don't disagree with you that in spirit, dwelling in the darkness doesn't help, right? Like despair. The antidote to despair is action. But before you can be spurred to action, sometimes you have to get really fucking angry and pissed off. And the only way that that happens is if you pay attention. And so, this idea of like, well, let's not focus on the negative, just focus on the positive. Sometimes I agree that that is a healthy way to be, but it also can be used as a cop out or an excuse or I don't know, a misdirect, you know, um, to not look at the people who are legitimately fucking things up for the rest of us. Like, another example of this is like the Walton family, right? All billionaires, they own the Walmart empire, pay their Walmart employees so little that the employees of Walmart are on food stamps that are paid for by the federal government, which is paid for by your tax dollars. So taxpayers are subsidizing Walmart to have a workforce so that they can make billions of dollars and then not pay the workforce what they should be paid to have a living wage in the country that they live in. I'll give you another quick example. If you ever go into a Walmart and you see a greeter at the front, and it's usually a little sweet old person, like a person who's like 100 years old, and they're like waving, "Oh, hi, welcome to Walmart," and they give you a card or something like that. I don't know if they do this in Europe or the UK or whatever, but in the States they do this. The greeter, Walmart takes out an insurance policy on those people, a life insurance policy. This is not illegal in the United States. This is totally legal to do. They can take out an insurance policy on any employee. They don't have to tell you. So they hire someone who is of in poor health. They have an oxygen tank. They're maybe sitting in a wheelchair. They're in not in the best health. They're in their advanced years and they stick them up at the front of the store to hand out shopping carts to people. But when that person, and Walmart has the actuarial tables for all of uh, these people, this data set. They know when these people are going to likely pass away, and when they do, they collect the insurance policy on that person. So if they were getting paid $30,000 or $24,000 a year to stand up at the front of the store and hand out shopping carts, and they live for 3 years, and they make $75,000 in gross, and then you take taxes out, whatever else, and whatever they wind up netting, and Walmart takes out a $150,000 insurance policy on that person, and that person dies, Walmart actually gets away with not paying them what they were worth and making money off of the insurance policy. And that's a legal practice here in the United States. That's insane. So fuck those guys. Patrick McGuigan, welcome to I Want to Believe. Thanks for being a member. Um, yeah, Patrick says, you hit the nail on the head when you said the world will see there is a better way ahead, and it already has worked. The powers that be know this, hence why no disclosure. Yeah, a culture that comes into contact with another completely different culture. Look what happened to the Native Americans. Look what happened to the indigenous people of North America, the indigenous people of South America when the Spanish showed up. I mean, that's the story of South America, right? Like that's the Spanish. There were all these people living there. There's all of these different societies and civilizations. That it's like Machu Picchu, right? There's a train that you can ride from Cusco to Machu Picchu, and it's the Hiram Bingham. And they talk about Hiram Bingham is the European explorer who discovered Machu Picchu. And my wife always rolls her eyes and she's like, "It's a fucking white guy rolled in here and is like discovered Machu Picchu." There were people living here thousands of years before that guy showed up. Like this whole society was here, and they had farming. They had advanced farming techniques. They had advanced um, religious understanding and astronomical knowledge, and I mean there were astonishing societies there. And then the Spanish rolled in and were like, "Well, we're going to civilize you guys and bring Christianity and fix everything." And then you just get this like weird, uh, you know, massive killing off of all the people from disease and violence and all. It's just extremely ugly history when you look back at different civilizations coming into contact with one another, particularly when one is much more technologically advanced than another. um, it never ends well. It never ends with like, and then they were friends and they helped each other and they both learned from one another and built better societies and maintained also their own unique cultural identities. That story does not exist. It doesn't anywhere. It's never happened. So why would we expect coming into contact with an advanced non-human civilization to be any different? I don't think we would. And I think if you were a planner at the absolute top level and you were looking at the situation trying to figure out like how you were going to handle it, one of the things you'd have to do is apply some very hard-nosed pragmatic realism and look at the situation and go, well, it never works out. It's never worked out. It won't work out this time. And along the way, it could collapse our own belief structure. It's not so much that people will freak out individually, it's that collectively, all of humankind will kind of take a moment, a pause, just like when COVID 19 shut down the whole world. There were a few days in there where people just kind of had to stop doing everything. And there were a couple of months where we were all just sort of twiddling our thumbs and we had free time and you could take up a hobby, you could read a book, you could do something, go for a walk. And everyone got a taste of that. And then they came back from COVID 19 and they were like, hey, you know what? I want to work from home now. And I think we should be able to work from home because we all just did that for a year. So we want to work from home now. And employers corporations were like, well, we don't have a choice, really. They tried to claw it back. They were like, well, we want everybody in the office like 2 days a week, or we need to see where everybody is at on all these projects. We got to walk around the room and like kind of make people feel uncomfortable, or we don't feel like we're doing anything. This is the management response. And then people were like, "Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't believe in 2 days a week. There's no reason for that. We just did this for a year. We're going to work from home now." And that's why I think now you're seeing such a huge backlash against the working class, because the fucking employer class, the business owner class, the ownership class, they took that personally. They took that post COVID-19 assertion of a little bit of independence and um, you know confidence as an offense. They took that as like, oh, we're going to have to really put you guys in your place now. We're going to have to obsolete you. And I feel like that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this cultural battle between like the class that owns everything and the people who do all the work, and they really don't. The ownership class hates that they need the working class. They don't want that. Um, they don't want to have a relationship with a worker. Ugh, so gross. What they want is a compliant, obedient workforce that disappears when they're not needed and doesn't cost anything at night or on weekends or ever, really. That's what they want. And they're going to get it. They're going to get it soon. And the rest of us are going to be um, left, our cheese out in the wind. Gray Hair Discoveries. Hey, thanks for being a member for 8 months. Oh, I appreciate that. The best place to be. I appreciate that. I truly do. Um, Thanks to Mr. Justin for 10 night shift gift memberships. Dude, you don't have to do this. Mr. Justin is one of our mods. He's in our Discord. He's designed and sent me these night shift, the coaster set. This one, I've got this one, the Dreamland Motel. This is actually my son's favorite. He steals this from me all the time. Night shift, the text label. Uh, my kid comes in. He goes, "Daddy, can I take this? I want to put this in my room so I could say I work on night shift." So, thanks, Justin, for that. And of course, Doomer Fridays. I got my Doomer Fridays coaster set, and the Doomer Friday sign, which you can't quite read, but it's back there. If I can show you, right where my finger is, there. It's the Doomer Friday. Um, Thanks, Mr. Justin, for the night shift memberships. And Kyrgyzstan sent 5 night shift gift memberships. Thank you. Um, DNITS is another one of our mods. Oh, I have them too. Thank you, Mr. So Justin not only printed, he made this coaster set and the Doomer Friday sign, and I have my little. He sends me this whole kit, this whole box, and it's got this little. I don't know if you can see this UFO. He made these little flying saucers with these little aliens. It's hard. It's really hard to hold this. It's so tiny. Here we go. Got these. I have a whole bunch of these. My kid keeps stealing them and moving them around. Um, I get this whole care package, and it was awesome. Um, so thanks. And then he made them all for the mod team on our Discord server. And he sent, and so everybody started getting these packages in the mail, and he was just sending them out. And I think, Justin, are you still doing the guitar pedal? You'll have to let me know. It helps to have ADD. He says it helps. I have ADD, so when I'm passionate, I dedicate time to something. Uh, and he's making. Last time I talked to Justin, you were making a guitar pedal, and I had just gotten approved, so I told you, I was like, we need to have a phone call, and then my kid said something, and I got distracted. I wound up forgetting about that conversation until just now. Um, okay, Mr. Justin is working on the guitar pedal. Paris Diamonds, member for 16 months, elite level supporter. Thanks, Paris. My little granddaughter talks about aliens, says they are skeletal. That's interesting. My kid talks about UFOs all the time now. He's like, he goes up to his friends and he's like, "Are you into UFOs? Do you believe in extraterrestrials?" He's like, he's 4. He turned 4 in October and he entered, especially on the Peru trip, he like got so much stimulation. I think his mind was so expanded by just being there and all of the different sights and sounds and speaking Spanish and just doing everything. And so like when we flew back, the flight back was just awful. And we got back to Florida and then he slept. He slept for like 2 days and then he woke up and now he's just like conversational kid. He's 4 years old, but he's like really conversation. He'll sit there and he'll be like, "So what are you up to? What are you working on?" And I'll be like, "Well, I'm working on an edit for this thing." And he's like, "Oh, cool. So tell me about it. What is it?" I'm like, "You're 4. Why am I telling you?" And he's like eating a snack. He's like, "This cheese is really good. Do you want some cheese?" He's like a little adult. It's really weird. Brian Park, TR3B, Mr. Justin, what kind of pedal exactly, please, and can I buy it? Um, the pedal name Doomer Friday. It's a fuzz circuit and has a doom knob. It sounds amazing. Does it go to 11? I can post a demo of it in the Discord and share the artwork I had Cole make for it. So, okay, I'm going to wrap up because this has just been an all over the place live stream today. And thank you for sticking with me through it. I know it's just like all over the place. Um, the Discord community. I assume most of you here, if you're watching, it's a small group today. If you're in the Discord already, then you know. If you're not in the Discord already, you should be there. We have an awesome community of people. Justin is one of them, one of our amazing people. D-Nits, Chris, Brett, Xander's there all the time. Pavel's in there all the time. Like all our friends of the night shift. Half the people who are in the shows that you really love are in there from one time to another, just chit chatting. We have great groups that get together. We have people that are making stuff. We have people that are designing things. We have people that are designing experiments on UAP, UFO hunting. We got people doing CE5 remote viewing. We've got people that are in all different areas of this whole high strangeness world that are active. We've got folks in there who may have non-human artifacts, spheres, uh, metallic spheres. People in our community have those. Um, so we've got a growing community in the Discord, and part of what we're trying to do with it, and this is on me going forward, is to try and spend more time in there. But part of what we're trying to do with the Discord is lean into it more so that the community can be more active in what we're doing with the channel and grow it in that way. So I want to have, um, a, a, a broader conversation about people who want to help and do something with the channel and have some resources that they would like to offer. Usually, what happens is I'll get an email directly from someone and they'll say, "I have this very specific skill set. I would like to help the channel." And then they'll ask me for a phone call or a meeting. And I'll usually, if I get to that stage where we're having a phone call, we'll talk about it. And then it becomes obvious like, they could be very useful, very helpful, and there's all kinds of things that they could do. But as an individual, I just don't have the bandwidth to help them on ramp into the night shift world because I am literally trying to run the entire channel, be the creative brain behind all of the stuff that goes on the channel, figure out what it's going to look like, how it's going to sound, what it's going to be, organize interviews, raise a kid, be a husband, be a dad, pay the bills, work another job, take care of my dog, you know, eat 3 healthy meals a day, my vegetables, do all of the things that it takes to be a functional human and build this channel from scratch. And the problem is that despite the number of people who are extremely well intentioned and want to help and have all kinds of skills that they can offer, I just don't have a lot of bandwidth to sit down with each individual person and figure out like where can they go and what can they do. So one of the things that I would like to see going forward in 2026 is the Discord become more of a place for that and become more of a space that is sort of um, self-directed, but that is participatory, if that makes sense. So, like community leaders in the Discord space for Night Shift, special projects division that can help incubate these ideas and then build them out. And to the extent that we can give you a platform at Night Shift to talk about what it is that you're doing, if you're a part of our Discord and it's something that you're working on in there, then I will have you on the show. You can come on and join us on a Friday, or we can do a special interview and you can talk about what it is that you do and what you're up to in the Discord. And if you've got a cool thing coming up, an event that you want to promote or put out there, we'll bring you on to talk about it. And you can share what it's all about, and we can try to reach out to more people. So, in that way, I want to create an ecosystem that all of you can participate in and feel a sense of ownership in and feel a part of. And I want to give it a coherent um, shape and form. But I want it to be something that grows naturally with this community as we go. And then periodically throughout the year, what I envision is that we're going to have these anchor events that are going to happen throughout the year. So, one anchor event that's going to be coming up is I am going to be doing a return to Cusco, a return to Peru trip that is going to include stops at some of the really cool sites that we talked about and some sites that we haven't talked about. It's going to be built around the high strangeness concept, mystical sites. We'll be able to go visit these places, get out, walk around, explore, talk about them, meditate, do a CE5 uh, remote viewing experiment. If we decide that we have the right group for that, whatever that particular group is, we'll tailor something for them. Eat some good food, have some great drinks, talk some campfire stories, hike out under the stars in the middle of the night and look up at the sky from 11,500 feet and then freak the fuck out because you've never seen anything that beautiful in your entire life and feel totally small and insignificant. Have those ego death kind of experiences and then go back and, talk about it. So instead of building this channel around the idea of solving the UFO mystery once and for all, I want it to be more about celebrating the mystery. And I want it to be about something that, you feel like, we're all living it. We're all living in this moment. And it's very weird. So to the extent that this can be a safe space for us all to talk about how weird it is and what it is that we're all looking at and agree that it is fucking weird. Um, if you feel like you want to participate at another level, one of those anchor events will be the Peru trip. I'd like to do something stateside as well. So that's something that I'm looking into. I'm not sure where that would be. And then possibly a big virtual event, something online that we can do. Of course, contact in the desert. I'll be at the next contact. Dan's going to be there. Xander's going. I'm pretty sure. I don't want to speak for you, Xander, but I think Xander's going to be there. I can't imagine he wouldn't be. I'm 99% sure Pavel's going to be there. I think the usual suspects will all be there. Chris, I'm sure. I don't want to speak for these guys, but we're all going to try to be there. I'm going to be in February going out to Austin, Texas with Dan and Xander, and Cole's going to be out there. We're going to all hook up to go to Chris Ramsey and what's his name? Jesse's American Alchemy live show. And so we're going to go see them in Austin, hang out, and talk about weirdness, and hopefully do a show or two while we're there. I've got an interview coming up in the next week with Courtney Brown from the Farsight Institute. Courtney is back. He reached out to me a few weeks ago and he said, hey, we've been working on 3i Atlas. We've got some remote viewing sessions that we've done on 3i Atlas. We know what it is, and I want to tell your audience about it. Can we talk? And I said, yes, I would love to talk to you. And then we circled around trying to find an interview date. And when we finally did book one, It was the last day I was in Cusco before I had to fly back to Lima, and we just scrapped the interview at the last minute because there wasn't enough time. So we rescheduled that. It's going to be this week. I'm going to talk to Courtney Brown from Farsight. He's going to spill the beans on what his team of remote viewers says is going on with 3i Atlas. So hopefully we'll get some clarity on 3i Atlas. And he told me a preview, some coming attractions of some other things I want to tell you guys about. Some stuff that they are doing with AI that is awesome. Like they're building Farsight. Courtney, he showed me some of this stuff while we were on the call. We were talking for like 15 minutes. They're building a local AI hardware box that is going to run their own in-house um, um, open source AI system. And that AI system is going to be specifically trained to analyze remote viewing data. And then their level 2 of this project is to take that hardware and put it into a humanoid robot that can walk around like a member of the team and like go into a meeting and sit down, and like they are pushing this the edge of what we consider possible with AI and robotics, and they are doing it in a way that actually combines with remote viewing. And it's crazy. It's amazing. I don't even know how to begin explaining it to you, but Courtney is going to come talk to us about it, tell us all about it. They've got a project that they're very proud of that I'm going to be doing a show on soon called The Vault, where they've basically taken all of their remote viewing sessions that they do, transcribed them, so they have, and then corrected for any errors in the transcription. So they have a pure transcription of every remote viewing session. And then they've databased all of those so that you can basically point the AI of your choosing, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, doesn't matter, DeepSeek, point it to their vault, and it will look at all of the remote viewing sessions they've done for all of the years they've been doing them. They've got in this vault, and that AI will be able, you'll be able to basically interview it about the bigger picture, and it will zoom out and give you the strategic view of everything that's woven together from all of their remote viewing data. It's a mind melter. It's awesome. Um, and I can't wait for Courtney to tell you more about it. But I've played with it a little bit, and it is very, very cool. It's called The Vault. And it is on their website, Farsight. It's farsight.org. .org. Far. Yeah, farsight.org. Check it out. Here we go. These are all of their individual projects they do: JFK, Giza Pyramid, multiple universes exploding, Planet, 9/11 project. They've got one on um, 3i Atlas, The Vault. Here it is on the left hand side. The Vault, publication dates, links, and transcripts for Farsight projects. Mysteries projects can be found here. Deep News Vault. They have a project called Deep News where they basically look ahead at news headlines that they predict are going to become news items, and then they compare that to the actual news headlines that come out in a given month, and they see what their hit rate is for predicting things. It's very cool. So they've got ET board meeting. This is Communications Vault. This is something where they do channeled conversations with a being called Harvey, or they call Harvey. So you can go and analyze their Communications Vault. And this actually gave me the idea of loading in the raw material into an AI and then having it parse through the raw material. And then I thought, well, I might as well go get as much channeled stuff as I can. And then you could go. This is a cool concept. They've got an AI assistant built in to do this, and it will analyze all of these uh, RV sessions, insectoids, pandemic, Orions. The four-parter on the death of Jeffrey Epstein, UFO crashes, cause, and personnel. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, all the way back to, what is this, 2015. Cydonia, Mars, Great Pyramids of Giza, Atlantis, the Tunguska event, Area 51, Oumuamua is in here. Presidential meetings, Operation High Jump Parts 1 and 2. So, it depends on what your sense is on remote viewing. But this is what they're doing over at Farsight, and it's really interesting stuff. I find it fascinating. I think you will too. All right, one last roll through the chat. Yeah, Mr. Justin, when you get your guitar pedals figured out and you've got a demo and you want to come on the show and talk about it, like just tell me, and you should just come on and we'll talk about it. Beth Noyes says, I love Courtney. Courtney is super cool. He's the nicest guy. He really is. And he's just like, talk about a guy who is like a legitimate comic book character. Like this guy, what he does in a day is like something out of a movie. Like the way this guy is, the remote viewing stuff that they do, as a matter of like their job and just the way that they work, sounds like something that it's hard to explain. It's like, how do you explain? Well, it's like a group of remote viewers and they like get together and they have these double blind sessions where they sort of unpack the the goings on of some of the craziest things you can imagine, and then what they reveal is just wild. All right, so one last thing before we go. I got this text from Brian Jackson before I started the show, and he was like, dude, we've got to talk about Dan Burrish because there's been an update to the Eagles Disobey website. And sure enough, Brian had sent me a number of texts while I was traveling, and I didn't get a chance to connect with him, but I am working on this sort of ongoing Dan Burrish project. And if you're familiar with it, then you already know how weird that is. If you're not, this is a guy who in the early 2000s and late 90s supposedly was involved in a project called Aquarius. He worked supposedly at S4 as a biologist on a team that was tasked with taking medical samples from a captured extraterrestrial that went by the designation J-Rod. And so he has done a series of interviews over the years where he basically describes in vivid, extraordinary detail the process by which he was recruited, brought into this program, slowly acclimatized to the project, offered opportunity to proceed with it, accepted, how they basically taught him or sort of vetted him by giving him tiny little research projects that over time, as he would earn their trust, he would be brought up and into more advanced levels of the research project. And then he was put on this team that was tasked with going into a containment facility where they had this being stored. This being was living in there like a zoo animal. They had captured it, recovered it from a crash, and it was extremely intelligent and psychic and had all of these weird abilities. And Dan's job was basically to go in and take biological samples from this being. And long story short, he wrote a book called Eagles Disobey. That book turned into a website. The website is called eaglesdisobey.net. The Dan Burrish story is one of the strangest, weirdest, bar none, without a doubt, most bizarre, and yet weirdly believable stories I have ever heard in the UFO space. It is an obsession. that I cannot look away from no matter how hard I try. There's no way I can let this one go. It's too fascinating. And eaglesdisobey.net is this guy's website. Now he's gone into hiding. He's disappeared. No one can find him. No one. I know people who have tried. I know people who have much larger channels than this one, way bigger, that have tried, that have resources to get to him, and they can't. They're like, there's a force field around this guy. You can't get to him. And Eagles Disobey is his website. So if you go here, and I'm going to just show you a little bit. We'll scroll through. There we go. Dan and Marcy's Dan and Marcy's flagship website. That's his wife. All projects are ongoing. Secret Squirrel on Duty, SESQ, CIS, DCST, Eagles Team. What the fuck is all this? No one knows. It's this weird coded language website, and it's got all of these bizarre riddles. Answer the question, Mr. Diaz. What are you doing with the helmet? Phil Coulson to Tony Diaz, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just another one polishing a helmet and contracting a disease. Tink, ADC 1 PADVD, Chief of Staff, Eagles Team, CST, Central Standard Time, 22 November 25, 1737. There's a video. What is this video? 9G like Jets always keep the faith. This is a message to the Knights, in quotes. They have received the communication. Thank you so much. This will take some real time and much work. Stay tuned. Eagles Team, 07 November 25. Artemis 2, first crewed test flight to the moon since Apollo 2026. NASA.gov, DNM. This website makes no sense. Not just what it has on it. That stuff is obviously weird and makes little sense, if any. But like the existence of this website makes no sense. Hark, hark, the dogs do bark. Beggars are coming to town. Some in jags, some in rags, and some in velvet gowns. And then another track, Toronto Blue Jays, Lady Marcia and PhD, DD, all rights reserved. What? Did this change in the last? It did. It did. It changed in the last 30 minutes. Hold up, guys. Hang on. Hold up. I have an earlier version of this same webpage loaded. And it's on Safari. It's this one. This was loaded at the beginning of the live stream. They have since removed this part. Sent previously via Intrasys communication. This is not on there right now. Oh wow, they took this down in the last hour. DM have been on, so Dan and Marcia have been on telecoms all yesterday with nation state ICs, intelligence communities, and diplomats, announcing to their connections that they accepted the lifetime appointment as Goose Island Lightkeepers in 2026. Our team is gearing up to move first. Eagles Disobey announcement scheduled for 24 December 25 by Tink. Eagles team, 18 December. Okay. As it turns out, the Eagles team is in full relocation mode, long move, even with the book's scriptorium and writing teams being coordinated during the huge work. Updates will be slowed for a little time. So now you in the public know they are the new light keepers for Goose Island. The whole team is going with them. What does all this mean aside from you having access to hear them on M's near future takeover of the radio broadcast? You'll learn soon enough, we suppose. What does this mean? Eagles team, 30 December 25, 2216 Eastern time. But what is E? Are they in Central Standard Time? What? We asked Dan, I guess, if we could start upping the ante from Adam Lambert. A twist on Liza. Do as you wish. Okay. What the fuck is this? Guys, Eagles disobey. Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, that's it. Oops. It's super weird. Oh, here we go. In real time, you never know. Might be a Magic Russ says might be a spy encrypted website. How they communicate with each other. Ask Grok to analyze. Yeah, I'm gonna ask Grok to look at this, but I don't think it's gonna matter. Um, so that's it for now, guys. That's what we've got. Hang on, let me fix that. There we go. I just wanted to circle back, touch base with you guys, do a quick live stream, say hello, let you know that I'm back. I'm back in the office, which has been recently put back together after being taken apart. I've got some new stuff coming to kind of zhuzh up the place, and I'm excited to share that with you. I have a new exciting project. It's going to be launching soon. I can't wait to show you. I know you're going to love it. There's the February Austin, Texas trip. It's going to be happening, and we'll talk about all that stuff more in the coming weeks. But for now, I just wanted to say Happy New Year. You know, say hi to all you guys. Check in. Make sure everyone is doing well. Um, One question in the chat: do you ever get the feeling that it was Dan that was experimented on? I do sometimes get that feeling. I get that feeling. I don't know. I don't. What the thing about Dan's case that is so strange is that again, I'm going to talk about this in upcoming videos, but uh, and at the risk of beating this horse to death because I feel like I talk about it a lot. You have a guy, and as I've been working on this project, I'm watching all of the interviews I can find. I have hours, like 10, 12 hours of footage of him from years apart. And he's telling the story about what happened to him. And every single time he talks, it's never like, when someone's being deceptive and they don't really have they have a story, it's not true, but it's a surface level story. If you peel the first layer underneath that, the whole thing falls apart because they haven't really thought through, like, well, what was the guy's name, or what was the color of the truck, or the next layer of detail. There's a surface level story, but then if you were to really dig down, you could start to, when something happens to you in real life, it's complicated, right? It's like there's always a bunch of stuff going on. I woke up, I was hungover because the night before was New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Day, 2026. I had to go to the pharmacy to get some aspirin. I get in my car. I'm driving now I'm hungover. I'm in my pajamas. My hair's all fucked up. I've got a coffee in my hand. I'm driving to the pharmacy, whatever. And then something happens, and I remember that it smelled like coffee and kind of like booze because I had beer on my shirt and like there's a cluster of detail, right? All of the different things that are going on in your day and your life, and that day my kid was sick, or my dog was sick, or something. It's never in a vacuum. When Dan Burrish tells his story, which is the most crazy fucking story ever, he tells it with that level of detail, down to the point where people in the interview are asking follow-up questions and he's got an answer like that. Like it's not like he's making it up. It's like he knows it, like he really did it. He's talking about things like I would go into there's a room, and there's a big observation room up above with glass, and it's like a surgical suite. And the guys from Majestic 12, those guys would come up and stay in that area in the observer suite. They would look down, and in the middle, there's a big glass sphere. We call it the clean sphere. There's a gantryway. It's about 20 feet long. At the end of the gantryway is an airlock, and outside of the airlock is another room, and it's about 5 feet by 8 feet. And inside that room, there's a hook on the wall. You get the suit. The suit comes off. You put it on. It takes 3 guys to put the suit on because it's like a space suit. It's rigid. It's got the things. They even machined the fucking prescription for my glasses into the glass of the fucking helmet. because if you're wearing the suit and your glasses fall off, you're fucked. You can't get inside your helmet. You've got to exit the clean sphere, go down the gantry, da 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 da. Right? He taught like that level of detail. He's like, then you're inside the thing. And if something happens, they've got to have a procedure to get you out. It can take 20, 30 minutes to get you out of the thing and out of the suit and then into the decontamination room and all of the stuff. And so there's like a plan B and a plan C. And if things go really crazy, they can burn the whole sphere. They fire this button and it just torches the whole thing. This level of detail, it keeps going, and it doesn't stop. He talks about like the levels of security that it takes to get into the facility, just to go to work. From the time you get picked up by a bus and taken to the airport to get on the Janet Airlines flight, then you fly out, then you get into another vehicle. They take you to the site. You go into the building. You go into a room. There's a guy there at a desk. Like he knows what's on the wall. There's a picture of the fucking rabbit from Through the Looking Glass above the thing, and like the color of the paint on the walls, what it smelled like in the room. Like he knows all this shit, and he doesn't hesitate. And that is so compelling. I can't ever look away from it. And the fact that this guy then just ghosts everybody. He goes ghost protocol, vanishes without a trace, disappears completely, goes into hiding. No one can find him. No one can get in contact with him. Even these top tier, like super podcasters can't do it. None of them. In fact, he's asked at Contact in the Desert by a friend of a friend. Brian Jackson was there with a friend of his. And George Knapp is presenting at Contact. And Brian's there with a friend. And this friend asked directly George Knapp, what do you think about Dan Burrish? And George Knapp flips out. And he's like, this guy's a fucking loony. He's a phony. He's the phoniest fucking guy. Whatever. There's a recording and we had it on the show. And I'll find it for you guys at some point. It's somewhere on my computer. And he's like, this guy was a complete fraud. And yet, that only makes it more interesting because when you look into him, he's not. He's totally not. There's like a fucking paperwork on this guy from like a mile long all the way back. I mean, pictures of him in school, his name is mentioned in publication, like all of the things that George Knapp just said never happened, totally did happen, which is even weirder because it's like, well, why would you say that if it's obvious that this guy gave a presentation at Caltech? He was never a scientist. Very weird. I'm not saying I know Dan Burrish is telling the truth. I'm saying that this is such a crazy story. It's impossible to look away, and it's something that everybody needs to see more of. So anyway, Eagles Disobey, his website, it's a constant source of inspiration for me. I look at it every day and I'm like, what is going on here? All right, that's it. I need to wrap it up. Paris Diamond says Dan could have been a test subject for mind control 0.001. Possibly. It is, anything's possible. Yeah. The phoniest phony there is, Quantum Sheep. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. When I lay all this out in one video, I think you guys are going to see. I've cut the first 3 minutes, the hook, and the hook is so good. I have just watched the hook like 100 times, just over and over and over again, just the hook for this video. And oh my God, so good. And now I'm just trying to like piece together all of the other bits into a coherent narrative, which is taking some time because there's a lot of material to work with. Xander wrote some original music for this. He wrote an original song just for this. It's going to be really cool when it does finally drop. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on this night shift return to Enigma Return to Innocence live stream, a very special New Year's Eve special. It was a rambling journey through me decompressing from the vacation and the trip and everything else. But I feel like we came a long way. We learned a lot about each other and about, I don't know. I don't know what we did. I don't know exactly what I accomplished here tonight, but I think most importantly, it was about sitting back at the night shift desk and getting into the rhythm of doing this again. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to go over to our Discord and get involved in the community there. And you can also go to teamnightshift.com. Don't forget to pick up a Doomer Friday t-shirt. Our Doomer Friday t-shirts. Get that Doomer Friday energy. Pick up a chainsaw near you and get ready to fight off the hordes of unemployed zombies and killer robots in the climate wars. Doomer Fridays. We try to bring a little humor to every doomer. All right, guys. That's it. You can go there, pick up a shirt, and I will see you guys back here. I think we'll go ahead and be back on Friday. We'll start back with the Friday Doomer Fridays this week. So today is December 31st. I'll see you back here on Friday. Stay safe. Don't party too hard. If you've got kids, know where they are. Don't drive. Don't drink and drive. What else? Call your parents. Uh, Say something nice to your dog. Get a good night's sleep. Go to bed early. Wake up. Get some sun. Enjoy the day. I don't know. I'll see you guys back here Friday. Thanks for watching. Until then, keep looking up, everybody. I don't have music to play out on, so I'm just going to end it. It feels so awkward. All right.